What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to episode 63 of our Road to Glory career mode. I think we are now into 2022, which is pretty good considering, of course, we're now quite a way into the actual series, and we managed to win ourselves a Champions League trophy already. Add that to the Premier League and the FA Cup we've already secured. The only objective for this season is, of course, I know this sounds crazy as well, the Carabao Cup. So, I mean, we'll still be playing in the Champions League, still trying to win it, still trying to win the Premier League as well, and that is where all our focus lies. Speaking of the Champions League, that's what the first game of the episode comes in on. So we will be taking on Zenit after our disappointing 0-0 draw earlier on against Lyon in the last episode. And in that one, we picked up a red card to Calvert-Lewin. So in his place comes in Fratchak. Now, you might not know who he is. We signed him in the transfer window just gone. If you have missed a few episodes, he will not be, I guess, relevant to you guys, but he is in our side now. We signed him from Bayern Munich for 26 or so million. He's a Polish striker, 2-star weak foot, 1-star skill moves. Not exactly ideal, but as I said in the last episode, hopefully it won't affect him too much. And he actually did hit a hat-trick. So, I mean, early signs from him are positive. He has taken the number 9 shirt, which was vacated by Kinsella when he left the club. In part of a move that just saw him, I think, join Watford, was it, in the end that he went to. But this game against Zenit, honestly, didn't really start off too well, and they very nearly had the lead inside 11 minutes. And after that disappointing 0-0 draw last time, I wanted to bounce back in the right way, so seeing ourselves concede an early chance wasn't the way I wanted it to happen. We got quite lucky as well to get our first chance. It was actually Fratchak with it. Unfortunately, though, he couldn't actually hit the target. And when I said it to you guys about the weak foot, I think he is right-footed, so in many ways, when we get him on this left-hand side, sometimes it might not work, other times it will, of course. We see Mohamed Salah, 2-star weak foot as well in FIFA, but he seems to be able to use it okay, so I'm hoping that's going to be the same case here. Lovely through ball from Donny, sets up Reiss Nelson for the latest chance in the game, and he couldn't hit the back of the net, unfortunately. The keeper making a decent save there. And we move into the last minute, and as well, we actually did have an injury to Jay Green, which meant that we had to name our 69 rated backup goalkeeper from the free agents after we, of course, sold Olanare. So he didn't have a lot to do on the day, very nearly conceded early on, but in the later stages, he made actually 2 saves, so I've got to give credit where it's due. In the last 2 the chances, he could have conceded them, but he didn't. He made saves from them. So although he's not necessarily good enough to replace Green in case of injury, he definitely had a decent enough performance there, He did well enough to save them, and I don't think he'll play that many games for us, but at least there he had an okay-ish game. A 0-0 draw again, though, for the second time in the group stage does mean that we find ourselves on 2 points and are yet to score in this Champions League group, which when you're the Champions League winner, it's not what the fans would expect from you. So definitely to find a goal at some point. And it doesn't really get any easier because our next game comes against Bayern Munich. So, I mean, we're not really going to score there. I would say they're probably the best team in this group, barring ourselves. So to have not scored in the first 2 is disappointing, but we'll try our hardest to do it against Bayern next time out. We're back, though, in the Premier League for this one against Newcastle at St James's Park. They find themselves 18th place after their opening 6 games. We, on the other hand, are a stark contrast to that. We find ourselves top of this Premier League table, where you're likely to see us finish come the end of the season. Again, though, it is a start for Perone in our goal sticks because Jay Green is not back from his injury just yet. Fratchak makes his start up front as well for us in place of Donis, and we'll see if he can grab another goal to his BPL collection of 3 already. Inside 10 minutes, though, Armstrong hits a worldie, and Newcastle went 1-0 up. I genuinely could not believe this goal. I saw it, and it just fell perfectly for Armstrong. And all things considered, I don't think he'll score a better goal this season than that one. You can see from this angle in a moment I'll show you, it goes right in the top corner. Alexander-Arnold tries to do his best to put him off. Wasn't meant to be. And again, the goalkeeper himself, Perone, really can't get anywhere near this one because it's just a world-class strike. And sometimes in FIFA, you just have to hold your hand up and say, listen, I was beaten by something that I could do nothing about. After, though, we went 1-0 down, we finally woke up and began to play. Reiss Nelson's delivery towards Dominic Calvert-Lewin. His header off target, though, wide of the sticks. The top scorer of the Premier League last season, yet to find his form in this campaign. And he went close, as I said there, but not quite in the back of the net. And then after that, don't know what quite happened to us. We allowed Newcastle to get another opportunity. 27 minutes in, nice play down the left, and it came to Catrone. He found Armstrong. Armstrong laid it on a plate. And Hayden, not the man you would want ideally if you're a Newcastle fan or whatever inside the penalty area. You'd want somebody else to strike that one, and it showed because he didn't get his efforts on target. And we move into the second half, where again we look to try and find an equaliser. Reiss Nelson this time. Shooting boots definitely missing for us at the moment. He can't find the back of the net. Fratchat laying this one out wide to Gaia. 1-2 with him. Lays it through to Calvert-Lewin. He fakes shots back inside. And finally, we have a goal in the episode. It's only taken us a game and 80+ minutes to find it. But it is Dominic Calvert-Lewin, our number 10, with the finish. And 9 minutes left on the clock. I definitely felt like we were the better team in this one. Could easily have found a second as well. We still have a bit of time to do that. We'll see if it's going to play out that way. But a lovely finish from Calvert-Lewin nonetheless, keeping his composure before finding the bottom corner. I've got to say, for a front three last season, that was, of course, Calvert-Lewin, Donis and El Ghazi, the way they played last year, comparing it to the way we started this season, I know we've switched it around a bit, having Reece Nelson in there, Fratchak, of course, coming in now, but Fratchak hasn't really been here, that long. I just feel like we're struggling a little bit to find our finishes, whether or not defences have wised up to our front three, potentially, that could be one thing. But still, Calvert-Lewin gets another chance here, and, just smashes it completely wide of the post. Never going to go in that time, and that was pretty much the way this one ended at St James's Park. It was all honours even, 1-1 draw. We only get the single point from this one, but at least it's not the defeat that it may have looked like it was going to be when we missed our chances earlier on in the game. So the fans from Newcastle, a little bit disappointed in their boys for not being able to hold on to that one. But all things considered, they were playing against the Premier League champions and the Champions League champions. So to even be 1-0 up and still have, a chance at 3 points is good enough, in my opinion. And the fact they got a point, I'd still take it if I was a Newcastle boss. But, of course, we're not. On the other side of that, I'm disappointed to have only got the point against them there. But still, we move forward. Next up was a trip towards Stamford Bridge to take on Chelsea, who, in many ways, are probably going to be one of the contenders this season for the Premier League title. Although I looked at their signing game, and it isn't the greatest team I've ever seen. One or two interesting choices from Antonio Conte. You'll see the team pop up. Of course, it goes very quick, though. So if you do want to check out the team, just pause it on whichever one you want to check out. And then, of course, you can see it because it does go very, very fast when we go through these. But our side was pretty much unchanged. That is, of course, the Chelsea lineup. As I said, Bailey, Shop and Morata were their front three. And it's still that five at the back. Jay Green returns from his injury. He starts back in goal for us today. So no more for Perone or whoever it is who was starting the other games for us. But it is a front three today of, I think it was Calvert-Lewin, Fratchak and El Ghazi today. So no Reece Nelson. It was El Ghazi with a first chance, but he couldn't find the shooting boots like we haven't been able to do for a long period of today's episode. He hit his effort straight at Courtois. We move though into the 53rd minute. Lovely piece of play from El Ghazi. Nice cutback. It fell to Grujic. Open goal. Goal gaping. And he somehow managed to sky it. It is now becoming comical. We are wasting chance after chance, and it's just simply not good enough. And for someone who scored quite a few goals from midfield last season, Marko Grujic, that's simply not a good enough finish. But he redeemed himself because he managed to get another chance not so long later. This time, he manages to hit the back of the net. And well, in all things considered, this one's a much more difficult chance than the other one because I know the other one was bouncing up and it was quite difficult to hit on the half volley, but this one he's got three Chelsea bodies to still get past and Courtois. So how he scored this one and yet missed the open goal, I don't know. But I was glad he did score it. Obviously it put us 1-0 in front. And to be harsh on Chelsea, we were the miles better team. They never really threatened us going forward. So I think the win for us was the deserved result. I don't think Chelsea deserved to really get anything out of the game. And a point I would have felt like a defeat rather than anything else. So for us, it's another victory. We get the 1-0 win. But as I said earlier, looking back at our front three from last season, I know we changed it around ever so slightly this season. But we were the highest scorers in the competition, the BPL last season. Yet this season, I just feel like we're falling a little bit flat in certain areas, sometimes with the finishes. That could be down to a lot of factors. It could be down to the fact that we might be a little bit fatigued from playing so many games last season to bounce back and come back. Calvert-Lewin, of course, enjoyed a full World Cup with England as well, playing in that one, so that could play a factor. But on the other hand of that as well, I do believe that within the next maybe season, we possibly need to bring in like a marquee winger, like a big world-class, stupidly good named winger. Potentially Ronaldo's regen could be a good one to sign. We can't sign him until the end of this season, though, because he's only just joined his current team. But I think he would possibly top my list of priorities. So we'll see who we go for next season anyways, because most likely my attacking front is where I'll focus for the next, marquee signing. But we had a game against Bayern. It's time for the third game of the group stage in this one. Fratchak was not in the side for his return of his former club. They are coming to our ground, so he doesn't have to return to his old stomping grounds. But I've got to say this, you know, having 2 games in, drawn both of them, been on 2 points, Bayern topping the group at this time, and they battered me in this first half. It's shown here as Alaba just runs past 3 or 4 players. I felt a little bit hard done by here. I blocked it twice, then a 3rd time, but this time it finds its way into the back of the net. And I was just sat there thinking to myself, what on earth has just happened? Alaba ran from his own half and managed to get in behind my defence, and they scored to open up the scoring. Not only that, but it's their Polish man, Robert Lewandowski, the man who has put them in front here as well. So I felt like we needed, you know, to match a Pole with a Pole. So I decided after Donny's missed this chance here, so close to finding an equaliser, unfortunately though, his effort dragging wide, that we probably should make a couple of changes. Speaking of one, I'd taken off our CDM and actually brought on Barso Villa. So at this point, we had Grujic, Evans and Barso Villa on the field of play. So 3 very attack-minded midfielders. We should have been back in the game moments before that after Reiss Nelson headed straight at Manuel Neuer. But as I said, we decided to match a Polish player with a Polish player, bringing on Fracek for the last few minutes of this one. And it just seemed like it was written in the script for him to pick up the ball with minutes left on the clock and fire Crew Alexandra back into this game at 1 apiece. Our number 9 has just given us what could be a big goal in our hopes of Champions League qualification from this group. Because if we'd have lost this, we would not have started off the way I was thinking we were going to start off. Even a draw here is still pretty bad. That's 3 draws from 3, and we're still halfway through now after only picking up 3 points. But what a finish from Fracek. And you've got to say as well, you know, we've got a Polish number 9. They had a Polish number 9. And it just so happens that it was both of those guys that scored the only 2 goals of the game. So with Lewandowski getting a little bit older, it means he, of course, can't play for the Polish national side, maybe at the next international competition. But it's good because it means that Fracek can fill in his boots perfectly well. Because as you've seen there, anything Lewandowski can do, Fracek can also do. But after the match facts, I felt like the 1-1 draw, you know, given the first half performance where we didn't play very well, they battered us, to then have the second half performance we did, the 1-1 draw was kind of a fair result, I'd say. But then I did something a little bit risky and decided to sim this game against Man United. I saw that it was home, and I thought, let me see if the boys can win this one without me having to actually play it. Pogba gave Man United the lead for a penalty before Fracek did equalise, but then Vendel scored later on in order to give Manchester United a 2-1 win. So I'm not at the stage yet with this team where we can sim games against the bigger teams in the Premier League and win. So it means we still have to play them, of course. But given that we only lost it 2-1, wasn't that bad a result. And if you take away the Pogba penalty, maybe it would have been a 1-1 draw or something along those lines. It's also nice to see Fracek score it again in terms of that one. So yeah, even though we've lost our first game of the season, I honestly didn't expect to go unbeaten because, of course, I do sim the games this year, and it might be a bit tough to try and go unbeaten when you're doing that, but still. We move now into this game against Portsmouth, which, of course, is the Carabao Cup, and with it being the Carabao Cup, we have to play them a few more times just to make sure we're getting through rounds. This one, I think, is around a 16, so after this comes the quarter-final, if I'm not mistaken, so we might be in with a really good shout at this one. We took the lead through Haas, who I believe has just scored his first goal for the club. I do believe up until this point he hasn't actually scored for us. So it's nice to see him scoring a goal when it matters. I think he's only been here since, last January. So it's taken him, just over maybe 9 months, 10 months to get his first goal for the club. We know he's not going to score that many. He's a centre-back at the end of the day, so that is the case. But he does give us the opener, and with 15 minutes left, we've managed to find the second. Reiss Nelson, so simple when he breaks through like this. Smashes that one into the back of the net, and that was pretty much all she wrote for the game. It's nice to have to go from something where I was kind of grafting against Bayern, if you will, trying to get the result and trying to make sure we got the equaliser, to then coming here against Portsmouth, knowing we're the better side and knowing we are, on paper, supposed to go through the favourites. I did name a very strong side. I wasn't prepared to, make any mistakes or not name a strong enough team to beat them, so that shows that I respected them and gave them credit for what it was worth. But we ultimately did, dominate the game and pretty much looked the better side throughout. So 2-0 win, keeping the clean sheet. We're through to the next round of the Carabao Cup. I'll show you the draw for that in the next episode. But for now, guys, that is how we'll end today's episode off. I enjoy playing this series. It's a blast to record, especially when you get the players coming through. Hopefully you guys enjoy it as well. A like would be greatly appreciated if you did. If you are new around here and like what you see, the subscribe button is down below. And I'll catch you all again for another video very, very soon. Stay tuned, guys. You don't want to miss them. Adios.